Hello, my name is Claire Easterly, and I will be explaining my action research project. I decided to focus on formative assessments to become a more effective educator. The purpose of the research was to collect and use quantitative and qualitative data to inform instruction. In the process, I will use multiple forms of assessment to fit the needs of all my students. The problem is that I am not always looking at the summative assessments until the end of the unit, and so I don't always know what the students learned during the unit. My research questions are: how can I implement quick formative assessments that provide instant feedback using technology tools? How do I know if the feedback is accurate of student knowledge? And how can I use the feedback provided to change my curriculum to best fit the needs of my students and to meet learning objectives? I conducted a literature review and identified three main concepts. To create an effective formative assessment, I need to focus on the learning objective first, use data to guide instruction, and to use many methods of formative assessment to fit the different learning styles of all my students. Using the literature, I use multiple delivery mechanisms for formative assessments. I would collect data using observations and technology tools that automatically would collect data. My research methodology was a cycle of using one type of formative assessment based on observations and feedback, using data to reteach if necessary, and repeating the cycle again throughout the unit. I collected three different forms of data and assessment. The first was a survey using Google Forms. Students reflected on their knowledge of the topic and identified their ability to answer content questions. They received immediate feedback. The second data collected was a review game using Kahoot, which also provided immediate feedback as well. This was a fun, competitive game for students, and they really liked playing this review game and testing their knowledge as they went. The third was collaborative conversation, where I observed the use of academic vocabulary and students' abilities to explain ideas and concepts to each other. After conducting the research, I found that the Google Forms survey was the most reliable and provided the most validity in my research. With the review game, students were more focused on being competitive and winning rather than choosing the correct answer, and there was a lot of glitches in the program, even though they absolutely loved using Kahoot. Collaborative conversations were difficult to monitor and collect valid data because there's a lot of variables that I did not foresee ahead of time. For instance, there are students that were absent a lot, students that were afraid to talk to each other, students that weren't comfortable talking to each other. And so I decided to focus my future action plan on collaborative conversations and making them more meaningful in order to collect valid data. Driving forces include modeling what a successful conversation looks like and sounds like, getting additional aids in groups to help with students with IEPs, and to ensure that all students have materials needed. Restraining forces include English language learners, lack of staffing for aides, and students who refuse to speak in groups, and those that dominate conversations. I've identified ways to intervene and be proactive for the next collaborative conversation that will act as a formative assessment. Now that my action research plan is over, I'm reflecting on what I've learned. I've learned how to incorporate research, use observations, collect reliable data, and monitor student growth as learning and teaching occurs.